Welcome to CSS Frameworks. After watching this video, you will be able to differentiate between the different types of CSS frameworks, list the advantages and disadvantages of each type of popular framework, and identify popular CSS frameworks and how to use them. Recall that a framework provides a foundation on which you can build your code. CSS frameworks specifically can provide you with all of the tools you'll need to spin up a basic user interface or UI. This makes it easier to implement various visual elements on a page, which can include navigation bars, forms, and grids, and to create dynamic and responsive websites, which can make a website suitable for any screen size. Since frameworks must be used from the creation of your project, it is important to know about different types of frameworks available. Different frameworks focus on different features, so it's important to identify which are the most important to your project when deciding which framework to use. There are two types of CSS frameworks: utility frameworks and component frameworks. Using no framework at all and just using plain CSS, also called vanilla CSS, requires you to write all of the styling on your own. This gives you the freedom to style everything exactly as you want it, but also requires a lot of time and effort as you must style every component. An alternative to this is to use a utility framework, which gives you utility classes that scope to a single CSS property. This makes it easier to apply CSS properties directly in your HTML code, which can save a lot of time, while still giving you the freedom to style components as you wish. Component frameworks provide you with pre-styled components and templates, which are easy to add to any website. This requires little knowledge of CSS and makes it easy to keep consistent styles, but also limits you to only the components made available by the framework. Utility-first frameworks provide you with an easy way to reference CSS properties. These typically come in the form of classes called utility classes, which scope to single-purpose CSS classes. Instead of having to write out the entire CSS property, utility-first frameworks allow you to use a property by referencing its corresponding class within the class attribute of your desired HTML element. For example, instead of using the text-align : center : CSS property in your code, a utility-first framework might have a self-descriptive class, such as TextCenter, which does the same thing when added to the class attribute of an HTML element. They make it easy to be consistent with color choices, spacing, typography, shadows, and everything else that makes up a well-engineered design system. However, having these styles mixed into your HTML classes reduces the separations of concern within your code, making your HTML markup more verbose. Since utility-first frameworks involve adding many classes to your HTML markup, this often causes the download size of your markup to increase and potentially slows down your web pages. A popular utility-first CSS framework used today is Tailwind CSS. It is packed with classes that can be composed to build any design directly in your markup. For example, say you want to style a link to indicate it's dangerous. You could underline the link text and change the text color to be red, as well as make the link a darker shade of red when hovered over. Doing this in vanilla CSS would require this code where you need to specify what the link looks like regularly and when hovered over in two separate sections. However, with Tailwind CSS, it can easily be done within the class attribute directly in the HTML, which can save a developer time. The hover portion of the Tailwind CSS is a special type of class called a modifier, which can be used with any other Tailwind class and is only applied when a user hovers over that element. There are many instances of modifiers in Tailwind CSS, some of which can make it very easy to create responsive websites fit to any screen size. For example, adding MD : before a class will only apply the class when a user's screen size is greater than 768 pixels wide, which is defined by Tailwind as a medium-size screen. This code will display an image with a width of 16 or 64 pixels by default, a width of 32 or 128 pixels on medium screens, and a width of 48 or 192 pixels on large screens. This saves developers a lot of time when styling many different elements, allowing them more time to focus on the back end. It also provides them the freedom to style elements however they want. Component frameworks provide pre-styled components which can be easily added to your code. This results in the ability to develop well-styled websites rapidly as significantly less time needs to be spent styling each element. It also makes it easier to keep all related elements styled uniformly, as you can simply choose the same or similar styles each time. However, having all of these predefined styles limits you to only what the framework provides and doesn't give you the freedom of customizing everything exactly as you want it. They also provide a lot of overhead code that you wouldn't otherwise get if you choose not to use any frameworks, as component frameworks will often provide you with more components than what you'll use. One of the most popular component CSS frameworks in use today is called Bootstrap. It allows you to build fast, responsive websites with a feature-packed front-end toolkit. If we take our example of adding a red danger link to your web page, which we saw earlier, we can see how much easier this would be with Bootstrap. Recall how to add this with vanilla CSS and Tailwind CSS. Now, Bootstrap provides a red danger link as one of its many components, and so adding this can simply be done by using the link danger class. Seeing all of these side by side, it becomes clear that for this example, Bootstrap has the easiest implementation of a danger link. However, this may not always be the case. In addition to providing individual HTML components such as buttons and links, Bootstrap also supplies entire templates which range from anything as comprehensive as an entire website to a simple sign-in page. As a whole, all of Bootstrap's components and features save time designing web pages and make it easy to remain consistent with styles throughout a website. Its ease of use also means that you don't need to be an expert in CSS to use it. Only limited knowledge is needed to use its basic features. However, it is important to keep in mind that it's limited in the components it can provide and may not have the ones you're looking for. In this video, you learned that CSS frameworks make it easier to implement UI elements and create mobile-friendly web pages. Plain or vanilla CSS lets you write all of the styles and layouts of a website on your own. Utility-first frameworks provide you with utility classes to help you build your own styles and layouts. Tailwind CSS consists of classes that are composed to build designs directly on the markup. Component frameworks provide you with a wide selection of pre-styled components and templates which can be implemented onto your website. And Bootstrap allows developers to build fast, responsive sites with its feature-packed front-end toolkit.